He wasn't supposed to wake up. The plan was clean, the timing precise, the dosage measured down to the milligram. She had already rehearsed the grief, already pictured the doctors shaking their heads, already imagined the moment his breathing stopped. But then, his eyes opened. And in that single moment, everything changed. This is not a story about jealousy. It's not about rage or loss of control. It's about a woman who married wealth, calculated her exit, and realized, too late, that her husband was still alive. Because when a crime is built on patience, survival becomes the most dangerous variable of all. Listen carefully. What follows wasn't a mistake. It was a design. There are two kinds of panic. The loud kind, screaming, shaking, begging the universe for a rewind. And the quiet kind, the kind that happens when a plan is supposed to be finished, and the problem refuses to stay dead. At 3:17 a.m., Lakewood Hill Security receives a call from a home that should never need help. A gated estate, private patrol, infrared perimeter cameras, a driveway long enough to make headlights look like a slow sunrise. The caller is a woman. Her voice is soft, almost calm. "My husband collapsed," she says. "I need an ambulance, immediately." Dispatch asks for CPR. She pauses. "He's breathing," she says, like she's surprised by the word. "Barely." That pause matters. People who find someone collapsing don't measure breathing. They plead. They panic. They guess. But she measured it, as if she needed to know whether the job was incomplete. Her name is Vivian Crow, 34 years old. Elegant. The kind of woman who looks expensive even in sweatpants. Her husband is Graham Crow, 71. Real estate money. Private equity money. The kind of wealth that doesn't need to announce itself. People say Graham was charming. They don't say he was lonely. Loneliness is embarrassing when you're rich. But loneliness is the first thing Vivian noticed. She didn't meet Graham at a gala. She didn't find him at a country club. She met him at a private medical concierge office. She worked there as a wellness consultant. Not a doctor, not a nurse, a professional version of comfort. Vivian didn't flirt loudly. She didn't need to. She studied people. What made them feel powerful? What made them feel safe? What made them hand over trust without realizing they were emptying themselves? Graham's weakness wasn't lust, it was gratitude. He had a pacemaker, a minor stroke years earlier, a doctor who told him to reduce stress. Then Vivian arrived with warm tea, careful attention, and a way of making a man believe his life wasn't shrinking. Within months, she was in his home. Within a year, she wore his name. And soon after, she was part of his financial life. Not on paper at first, just sitting beside him while he reviewed documents, asking questions, offering help when his eyes grew tired, worrying out loud about his health. Worry is powerful, because it makes control look like love. The night Graham collapsed, Vivian later told security he'd been restless all evening. She said he barely ate, complained of nausea, went to bed early. She said she stayed up reading. But when paramedics arrived, they didn't find him in bed. They found Graham Crow on the floor of his home office, pale, dry-lipped, breathing shallow, and positioned wrong. Falls create chaos. This looked placed. Vivian appeared immediately. Hair neat, makeup soft, a robe tied like she expected company. She knelt beside him and held his hand, but her eyes weren't on his face. They tracked the paramedics' hands, the equipment, the monitor, waiting. When the paramedic said, "We've got a pulse," Vivian exhaled. But relief didn't cross her face. Irritation did, just for a moment. A flicker most people would miss. But cameras don't blink. The foyer camera caught her face as she turned away. For a single frame, her expression wasn't grief, it was calculation. Graham was transported to the hospital. Vivian rode in the front seat. She made 3 calls, 1 to his assistant, 1 to his attorney, 1 to a contact saved only as M. She didn't call his children. At the hospital, doctors moved quickly. Vitals unstable. Blood pressure erratic. A nurse asked if Graham had taken anything unusual. Vivian said no. Clean. Immediate. When asked about supplements, she listed them precisely. Dosage. Brand. Timing. That's not how frightened spouses speak. That's how prepared people speak. A toxicology screen was ordered. Routine. But the result wasn't. A sedative was found in Graham's system, one he had never been prescribed. Not a trace. Enough to drop a man half his age. The hospital flagged it. Not as murder. Hospitals don't say that. They say something doesn't fit. And when something doesn't fit, police get involved. Detective Noah Vance arrived at 9:06 a.m. He didn't rush to speak. He watched. Vivian wasn't crying. She was texting. She wasn't asking if Graham would survive. She asked how long he'd be unconscious, when he might wake, whether she could take his phone. Vance finally approached. She was polite, soft-spoken, carefully distressed. She said Graham had been stressed, worried about money, worried about family. Vance nodded, then asked who else had been in the house. No one, Vivian said, too quickly. He asked who had access codes. Just us and security. Vance didn't challenge her. He requested the logs. They showed Vivian disarmed the interior alarm at 1:42 a.m. The office door opened at 1:44, closed at 1:46, opened again at 2:11, closed at 2:12. 2 visits, short, deliberate, not discovery, checking, adjusting. The love story had been visible everywhere. Charity events, private dinners, photos of her hand on his chest. But love wasn't the motive. Money was. Vance reviewed trust documents, insurance riders, power of attorney drafts. A will revision was scheduled for the following week. It would have reduced Graham's children's inheritance dramatically. Vivian's share would have increased to control. Estate property, company voting rights, a 7-figure life insurance payout. There was a clause. If Vivian committed a crime against Graham, she received nothing. Everything reverted. That clause created urgency. Because for someone like Vivian, there were only 2 ways to win. Make it look like nothing happened, or make sure he never changed anything. Back at the house, forensic teams moved quietly. They weren't looking for blood. They were looking for invisible crime. Under the sink, they found an empty solvent container. Specialty grade. Not purchased locally. In the trash, a torn supplement label. The kitchen camera showed Vivian making tea at 11:03 p.m. She set the mug down, pinched something small, dropped it in. Not sugar, a capsule. She stirred slowly, deliberately. Security footage later showed her entering the office again at 2:47 a.m., holding Graham's phone, tense. 2 minutes later, she exited empty-handed. She washed her hands too long. At 3:17 a.m., she called security, not 911. Private security buys time. And time mattered, because Graham didn't die. He kept breathing. At the hospital, Vivian sat by his bed, held his hand, smiled for nurses. But when Detective Vance stepped into the hallway and glanced back through the glass, he saw her lean closer. Her lips moved. Later, audio technicians enhanced the feed. Not love, not prayer, just a correction. You weren't supposed to still be here. And that's where this part ends. Because now the case isn't about what happened. It's about what Vivian planned, what she almost finished, and what she might still try, now that the man she tried to erase is still breathing. Graham Crowe regained consciousness just after dawn. Not fully, not clearly, but enough to disrupt everything Vivian had calculated. His eyes opened briefly. His fingers moved. And when a nurse asked him if he knew where he was, he tried to speak. That attempt changed the trajectory of the case, because Vivian had prepared for a death. She had not prepared for survival. Detective Noah Vance didn't rush back into the room. He waited. Survival creates urgency. Urgency causes mistakes. Vivian made hers within minutes. She asked the nurse how long sedation would last, whether Graham would remember the night, whether he'd be confused. Not worried questions, strategic ones. When told Graham might regain full awareness, Vivian's voice tightened. She said she needed to make some calls. Vance followed her movements through the hospital camera network. She didn't go to the family waiting area. She didn't go outside. She went to the bathroom on the 3rd floor, locked the door, and called the contact labeled M. Her voice was low, controlled, but the words betrayed her. "He's awake," she said. "No. I don't know how long." "Yes, I followed everything exactly." Pause. Then quieter. "I need options." That call was enough. Not for an arrest, for pressure. Vance didn't confront her. He pivoted. He ordered a full forensic toxicology panel on Graham's blood and stomach contents. He pulled pharmacy records, import logs, and subpoenaed Vivian's financial transactions. Patterns emerge when you stop chasing emotion and start following logistics. Vivian had ordered specialty solvents through a private supplier 3 months earlier. Small quantities. Medical grade. Delivered to a storage unit 15 miles from the house. The lease was in her maiden name. She had never used it before. Inside the unit, investigators found gloves, filters, empty vials, and a handwritten note taped to the wall. Not instructions. A schedule. Dosage adjustments. Times. Weights. Not the notes of someone panicking. The notes of someone experimenting. Meanwhile, Graham spoke to doctors. Then, slowly, to police. He didn't accuse Vivian immediately. People rarely do. Not when the betrayal is intimate. He said he remembered drinking tea. He said it tasted wrong. Metallic. He said he woke up on the floor. He remembered Vivian standing over him, not helping, watching. That memory came back in fragments. But fragments are enough when they align with evidence. When Graham was told about the will revision scheduled for the following week, he closed his eyes. He understood. The sedative wasn't meant to kill him immediately. It was meant to weaken him, confuse him, make a second incident look natural, a fall, a stroke, an ending without resistance. Vivian returned to the room later that day. She leaned over him again. Soft voice. Public affection. But now Graham was listening differently. When she whispered, "You scared me," he replied. "You sound disappointed." Her face froze. Just long enough. Just visible enough. Security footage caught it again. The flicker. That evening, Vivian tried to retrieve Graham's phone. She claimed he'd asked for it. Nurses denied the request. Hospital policy. She argued politely, then insisted, then threatened legal action. That escalation was documented. When she left, Vance followed her. She didn't go home. She drove to the storage unit. She didn't know it was already sealed. She pulled on the door. It didn't open. She stood there too long, then walked away. That was the moment investigators moved. Vivian was arrested quietly in the hospital parking structure. No spectacle, no raised voices. She didn't resist. She asked only one question. "Did he tell you?" Vance answered honestly. He didn't have to. In interrogation, Vivian cried on cue, then stopped, then recalibrated. She claimed stress. claimed Graham was declining, claimed she was helping. But the timeline betrayed her. The solvent traces, the import records, the security footage, the alarm logs, the storage unit. Most damaging of all, her own notes. When confronted with the dosage schedule, she went silent. Not shocked, defeated. Because intelligence recognizes when the board is cleared. The trial didn't focus on rage, it focused on planning. Expert witnesses explained how the sedative interacted with Graham's pacemaker, how a second dose would have stopped his heart, how the intervals matched her notes exactly. The prosecution didn't call her a monster. They called her precise. That word landed harder. Vivian took the stand. She spoke about love, about fear of losing security, about feeling invisible. The jury didn't interrupt, but they didn't sympathize, because love doesn't require spreadsheets. She was convicted of attempted murder, financial exploitation, and conspiracy. Sentenced to decades. Graham survived. Not intact, but aware. He revised his will, removed her completely, created a foundation instead, one that funded elder protection advocacy. He testified only once, quietly. "I didn't marry a woman who lost control," he said. "I married someone who never needed it." That sentence stayed with the jury. Vivian was escorted out without expression. No tears, no anger. Just calculation finally rendered useless. And the case closed not because someone died, but because someone lived long enough to expose what had been waiting for him to stop breathing.